Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. And I just cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate our community. Today's video is entirely because one person made a comment under one of our videos asking a question and suggesting, why don't you do this? And it sent me down a rabbit hole, and I've been spending the last few days doing all kinds of research and getting very excited about this topic. Now we're going to get to that in just a moment. First, I have a couple of announcements to make. First of all, when we did our baby blue video on the new Bluetti, the small Bluetti, you may have noticed that there was some new music, and some of you commented how much you liked that music. Now, that music is reserved only for videos that will apply to both of our channels. And so the opening had both the rose red symbol and also the trailgrazer symbol. And I thought it was pretty cute music too. So anytime we do a video that will be posted on both channels, you will be hearing that music. Also, it is getting toward the end of October. Two things are happening at the end of October. First of all, we are going to wind up our Tattler lid, our Tattler ring test. Halloween Day will be the 1-year anniversary of us running that experiment, and so we will go out into the lab and take a good look at what has happened to those jars and see if we were successful. I have full confidence that all of the jars will still be sealed. We've tested them on camera almost every month since last Halloween. The other thing that is happening at the end of this month is that we are releasing the Patchwork Sisters book, 40+ recipes using food storage ingredients. And this is co-authored by my 3 sisters. A few weeks ago, we did a micro moment as a round table with my sisters where we talked about this book. So watch for that book release. It will be released toward the end of the month. Now, one thing about that book is I've had a couple of suggestions that we only put 1 recipe per page, and for the most part, we did that. This person said it's much easier when she prints off the booklet to have the pages individually with the recipes so that she can put them into her own cookbook notebook where they belong. And I thought that was a great idea. So we're trying that out this time. So onward to today's topic, which is what foods can we eat in winter to help keep our bodies warm? I had never even considered that question. And so our viewer, and I apologize, I thought I had written your name down, but I can't find it anywhere, and I went back and could not find it. So I hope you are watching this because I have had a fantastic time doing the research background to present this. Now, all of you know that I'm very science-based, and so before I present information on something like which foods to eat to keep our bodies warm, I want to make sure that there is sound scientific / medical support for that, and it's not just an old wives' tale. Well, it is not an old wives' tale, and I found good, solid scientific and medical support for the idea that there are certain foods that will produce what is called thermogenesis, thermoheat genesis creation. So it creates heat within our bodies when we eat that food. Now, how does that happen? Well, it all has to do with digestion. Digestion takes energy in order to occur. Our body burns energy in order to burn calories. And in the process of digestion, heat is created. Now, the thing about thermogenesis is that it's temporary. It lasts only as long as digestion lasts. And so if we want to keep our body regulated and producing that heat to keep us warmer in the winter, then what we are going to want to focus on is foods that take longer to digest. When I was under the care of a doctor some time ago for weight loss and healthy lifestyle, I wanted to do it in a healthy way. One of the things that she told me was, Pam, don't use smoothies, don't do this, don't do that. Have your body do the work of crushing down that food, and that will help increase your metabolism. And so this is along the same lines as that. If we eat foods that require longer digestion, then that thermogenesis is going to be going on inside our bodies for a longer period of time. Now, I looked at dozens of websites. Some of them were really a little bit iffy, kind of new agey stuff, not backed by scientific studies or a lot of knowledge, just a lot of opinion. And so I kind of skipped over those, but the ones that were, in my estimation, reasonably valid gave lists of foods. And so I went through all of those and made a little chart listing the food and listing how many times across different websites that particular food was mentioned. And so the foods that I'm going to share with you today are the ones that got the most hits across all of those websites that I looked at. I really learned a lot. And in fact, it has impacted my own diet. And so I'm pretty excited about it, and we'll share that with you. So what we want to do, especially in wintertime, is to increase our metabolism rate. If we do that, if we burn those calories, and it takes a long time, that thermogenesis then keeps us warmer, heats up our bodies. And so the type of foods that we want, according to the level of increase of metabolism, in order are proteins. Protein will create the highest spike in metabolism, and that's between 15 and 30%. And across all the websites I looked at, that was pretty standard. Everybody claimed that. And I verified that with a medical report that I read as well. Between 5 and 10% increase in metabolism rate occurs when we eat carbohydrates. But there's kind of a catch there. There are simple carbohydrates and there are complex carbohydrates. Simple carbs don't stay with us very long at all. And that's the processed foods, cookies and breads and things like that. The complex carbs are where we want to go, and we'll get to that when we get to the list in just a minute. And then fats, and there are good fats and bad fats, but the fats, as a broad category, will increase our metabolism from 0 to 3%. So that's good to know. We should focus in on lean protein to get the best bang for our buck, so to speak, when we are creating thermogenesis within our bodies. So I'm going to start with the food list now. And some of the foods that were mentioned were not directly related to thermogenesis, but indirectly related, and that was bananas. Bananas are very high in vitamin B and magnesium. It's very good for our thyroids, bananas are. And the role that bananas play in thermogenesis is that bananas, the nutrients that are in bananas help regulate our body temperature. So bananas are a good foundation. It used to be an apple a day. I'm treating this like a banana a day. And I love bananas, so I'm pretty pleased about this. Then the next most mentioned, bananas were mentioned in every list. Another thing that was mentioned in every list was ginger. Ginger has amazing and well scientifically documented effects, positive effects, medicinal effects on the human body. It is a pretty remarkable spice. This is a rhizome. I'm going to do some experimenting with growing ginger now that I better understand its role in what it can do for our bodies. And once I master that, I'll be doing a video on that. Now, what I do with ginger, and what was suggested almost across the board, is you can use ginger as a spice, but you can also snip off a finger of this ginger, slice it up, and make ginger tea. And I want to show you how I did that. So here is some ginger tea. I washed the piece of ginger, I sliced it very thinly, I left the skin on, and you can do that, it works just fine. And now what I'm going to do is, and also I put some honey in here while the mixture was hot. I'm just going to pour it through this strainer to strain out the pieces. And this spoon had a little bit of honey residue on it when I was putting the honey in the pan. And here is some ginger tea. Woo! It certainly is a strong taste, and Jim and I are really enjoying this herbal tea, this ginger tea made from scratch. And we've been having a cup of tea shortly before our bedtime, and it's very delightful. So that's one thing that you can use ginger for. Now, the next thing that was mentioned over and over again was oats. So here is my 6-grain cereal. And this is a rolled cereal. It has wheat in it, it has barley, it has rye. It looks just exactly like oats. And so there's a lot of oats in there, but there's a lot of other cereals there too. So I have started in the mornings while I'm still working, which is for just a few more weeks. I have no time in the morning. And so I have to think, if I'm going to be switching over to doing something like this for my morning breakfast, which I'm going to be doing, I have to figure out a quick way to do it. So what I have decided to do is use a thermos as a thermal cooker. And so just before I go to bed, I put a half a cup of this 6-grain cereal in here with a cup of boiling water. And also, one of the things on our list is fruits and nuts, dried fruits and nuts. And so this is my container of craisins. And I love craisins. And so I'll put a handful of craisins in this thermos as well. And then when I get up in the morning quite early, all I have to do is open up the thermos, pour it into a bowl, and I have my breakfast right there. And I can eat it while sitting at the computer and doing my morning checks on, actually every morning I check our channel to see what's going on. One thing that was mentioned across every one of those websites was caffeine. And caffeine can stimulate your metabolism and help warm your body. However you take your caffeine, just be aware of the sugary sodas that have deleterious effects as well. Next on the list is the protein. Lean protein is best. Red meat, including beef, pork, and lamb, are all in this category. And those red meats, the lean protein can increase your metabolism by 15 to 30%. So probably a good idea to include a lot of protein in our daily intake. Red meat is a great source of iron, and iron is critically important for our blood in order to transport oxygen to every cell in our body. And also it's a great source of vitamin B12, which is really good for our immune system. Another one that is mentioned on everyone is sweet potatoes, representing root vegetables. Sweet potatoes, it takes more energy to digest a sweet potato than it does a lot of other things. And so that's why we like this and have added it to this list. It's also high in vitamin A and vitamin C and adds fiber to our diets, which is really good. And so I have stocked up on sweet potatoes, and I'll tell you, the stores label yams as sweet potatoes and sweet potatoes as yams. I just like the orangey ones. And so whatever they're called in whatever store we go to, these are the ones that I buy. And we're starting to add like half of one of these potatoes for each of us for an evening meal once in a while, 2 or 3 times a week. It's a very easy thing to add. Butternut squash was also mentioned a lot. That is not a root vegetable, but butternut is also really good because of thermogenesis that it creates, but also it has antioxidants as well as vitamin C and potassium. Then another thing that was on every single website was, don't forget to drink water. We may not think about that as much in wintertime, but it is very critical to our bodies to have adequate water intake on a daily basis. It's very important. And one of those websites says, so carry your water bottle with you. Well, I do that anyway. We live in the desert. I carry my water to work. It sits on my desk. When I go to meetings, I carry it with me. So I pretty much have my water with me all the time. Another really important one is in the family of beans and lentils, peas, barley, all of those. So especially mentioned were black beans. They are especially good for us. And then here's lentils. These are my yellow golden lentils, and this is barley. Soups with these ingredients and others in these same families are more difficult to digest, which is exactly what we want. So we need to fill our soups with these foods that take longer to digest to stimulate thermogenesis. Then it was a lot said about various spices, and I have the main ones that were mentioned right here. This is cumin, turmeric, ginger as a spice, of course, as well as the fresh ginger that we've already talked about, cinnamon, and pepper, black pepper, even white pepper. And so using these spices in our cooking will help maintain thermogenesis once it's going in our bodies. Also, warm beverages, and I think this is more just a physical experience in wrapping our cold fingers around a warm glass of ginger tea, for instance, helps a lot. In terms of dry fruits and nuts, and we talked about that just a little bit when I mentioned my morning cereal, but we have just started using this product, and I put this in our pumpkin powder free booklet up on our bookstore. This is Nature Source, Natur without the E, Source, organic salad topper. It comes from Costco. I also bought some on Amazon, and I'll tell you, I don't use this just in salads, but that's a really good place to use it. I used it to top our pumpkin bread in that little recipe booklet. So this has sunflower seeds, craisins, and pepitas, which are our pumpkin seeds. And I just keep it out on the countertop most of the time, and I will walk by once or twice a day and just take a spoonful. And it's a lovely, very nutritious snack. Okay, one that was mentioned in a couple of the websites was ghee, and I was a little bit surprised to see ghee. Ghee is, if you do ghee correctly, it no longer has the milk solids in it. It is pure fat. And so we're talking 0 to 3% increase in metabolism using fats, and ghee is a good fat. And the claim on that website was that it supports the immune system. And then honey was also mentioned on a few of the websites, and we have plenty of honey in our storage. We shut down our honeybee business, what, Jim, about 5 years ago? We gave our hives to our children. The full honey boxes weigh about 80 pounds, and neither Jim nor I can do that anymore. And so our children have our bees, but we still have some honey from our bees that we just absolutely love. So this is starting to crystallize, which happens with honey, but this is what I stir into the ginger tea. And honey does not necessarily have fabulous thermic properties for generating heat in our bodies, but it does have, in the winter, it has other health aspects that help us ward off sore throats and colds and that kind of thing. Then there were the last ingredient the last food that I saved for last, because one website would say this works and another website said don't do this, and that is peppers. This is a fat jalapeno, and this is ground cayenne pepper. And a couple of the websites said eat spicy foods. Well, there's a downside to that as well, because when we use those foods, if they make us perspire, then that's not a good thing, trying to keep our bodies warm, because perspiring, sweating, is our body's natural air conditioner to cool us down. And so you just have to try peppers for yourself to see whether or not it generates perspiration with you, and if it does, then it's not it doesn't have really great thermogenesis qualities for you. So that's the bottom of our list, and it's a great, there are a lot of other foods mentioned on other websites that you can explore for yourself. These are the ones that we are going to be focusing on this winter to help maintain our body heat. So I hope that this was helpful. It was sure fun for me, and I'm happy to share this with you, and thank you again for being such a wonderful audience and giving us ideas all the time on what you would like for us to present. So we will see you at our next video.